with the whispers of truth, to live a conscious life, to live a conscious life on the growing edge. On the growing edge.
And now, here's Allie.
Good morning and welcome to Growing Edge Live. I'm Allie Benjamin and it is so good to be here today. Welcome. We have an amazing show lineup today. My guest is a beautiful soul and I can't wait for you to meet her. And so if you're here for the first time, Growing Edge Live is all about soul-centered conversations with soul-centered individuals that are channeling their energy, their life, their resources, their love, their light into the world, into their business to support others to find more love and meaning and peace in the world. So every week we come on with a guest from a vast spectrum of lanes, experiences. And today my guest Renae is a real blessing in my life. And so I'm super excited to share her with you. If you have any comments or you'd like to ask a question, please go ahead and use the chat. We've got Shay. Good morning, Shay. We've got Wayne and we've got Michael. Good morning. It's so good to be live and having this conversation. Even though I'm here alone in my little corner of the world, just knowing that we can interact and connect and chat and have a conversation together is really inspiring and really heartwarming. And I'm not feeling so alone here in my little room. So welcome. Growing Edge is sort of a concept or a premise that each of us are on our own spiritual journey. We're on our own life journey. We were born into this incarnation and here we are today. And there's been this evolutionary journey that each of us have been on, this physical evolution, this mental evolution, emotional evolution, this spiritual, this soul evolution. And so that's what we talk about. What's it like to be you, to be me, to be us on the very growing edge of our own becoming, on our own leading edge of what we're creating and what we're doing. And so that's what we talk about here. This series is inspired and supported by Satya, which is a Center for Conscious Living in Ogden, Utah. And New Thought Media Network are the hosts. So thank you to New Thought Media Network for always being here and producing such amazing content. 24/7, there's something going on. And this show is part of many that show up here and people and authors and ministers and practitioners of spirituality and alternative kind of medicine and things like that, share their insights, share their thoughts, bring their guests. And so I'm just so thrilled to be a part of this amazing team of individuals that are standing up for what they like and what they love and what they think will be helpful. So thank you for being here today, wherever you are. So I always start off with a segment that I call Ask Allie. And today I have a question from Bud. And Bud says, why is it that we always want more, no matter how much we have? Isn't that the case? For many of us, especially when we jump onto a spiritual path, and many of us come into the teachings of science of mind or New Thought, having read a book like what was that? The Secret or something like that. And we learn about how we can manifest our reality. And we learn that we can master our minds and focus our attention so that we can manifest particular things, ways of being that we want. And so it can feel like we're always going for something. We're always trying to manifest, but actually it's not the case. What I have found is there's a balance. whilst my ego is always wanting something, there's also a deeper dimension to who and what I am and to who and what we all are that is completely content, that's completely peaceful, that there is no striving and wanting other than receiving and experiencing and expressing. And so, how do we come to terms with that? This ego part of us that's wanting and striving, even if it's wanting and striving a deeper spiritual connection or a better relationship with a loved one, something that's positive and affirmative and moving us in a good direction. Is there a way of wanting these things, but yet being content at the same time? Absolutely. It's a both and. It's one of those both and things. So we can balance that in our life by just simply being aware of it. That, oh, there's that part of me, that intellect, that part of my brain that's wanting, that part of my brain that's feeling emotional, that part of my brain that's creative. I was just reading a book, the Jill Bolte Taylor, about the My Stroke of Genius, I think the book's titled. And she's talking about these 4 parts of our brain. And so it's good to understand these parts of our brain. There's the part that's intellectual, that's thinking, that's planning, that's organizing. There's that part, it's another character in our brain that holds emotions and remembers the past and has all of the feelings that come along. And then there's another part of our brain that's highly creative and in a flow state. And then there's a 4th part that's more mysterious. And that part is that essential part, our essence or our soul. And so when we're in this place of wanting something, whether it's a new job, a new relationship, or wanting to clean up the house, or wanting to finish your homework, or wanting who knows what, you fill in the blank. And we're on this conscious spiritual journey, we can just notice, oh, here I am, those parts of my brain that are wanting more, wanting a deeper experience, wanting to connect. It's online. You know, what's my motive for this? Is this something that I want to pursue? Or is this wanting just kind of an undercurrent of discontent? And so we get to sort of play around with the wanting, identify if it's something that we're willing to put our time, talent, and energy towards. And we start to spend, maybe it's a few minutes, maybe we just spend a little bit of time on that, and then we relax and we let it go. And we just settle into that part of us that trusts that there's divine right timing, that there's divine right order, and there's divine right action. And we just know that it's all coming together. So to answer your question, yeah, I think it's our nature as a human being, Bud, to want. And that's how we actually evolve. And that's how we experience more of this amazing life. But there's also a time of receiving. There's a time of sitting back and contemplating all that we've received over the course of our lifetime, all that we're receiving currently, all that we have to be grateful for and thankful for, and just sitting with the enormity of how much we've already received. And so there's kind of a balance there with all that we have and feeling grateful for that, and just simply taking time to take it all in and feel our blessings. And then there's the other part of that sort of loop of giving and receiving. So when we do have that opportunity to feel blessed and grateful for all that we've received, we also have an opportunity to circulate the blessing. How can we give this away, pay it forward? So that's another way of not feeling so self-centered or needing or wanting, or is to realize, yep, there's this part of me that wants. Yep, there's part of me that's received. I'm aware of that. And yep, there's part of me that wants to circulate the good, because after all, that's what we're doing in this amazing experience that we're all having, this oneness. We are vehicles or channels that circulate the good. So it comes in, we experience it, we give thanks for it, and we pass it along. And so I wanted to share something that is important about what I'm doing here with this show, and what the Satya Center, who's our sponsor, has agreed on, is that each of our guests, so every week, we always ask our guests, what is a charity or an organization that you would like to support? Because every week we send a donation to our guests' charity or organization that it's a nonprofit that they would like to pass along or pay it forward to. And so the past two guests that we've had on the show, have our donation has gone to the Maui Strong, supporting those that have been affected in Lahaina, in losing them. And so I wanted you to know that this show is also practicing this give receive. So we're wanting to so Bud, yeah, there's always something we want, right? And this Growing Edge Live wants to support others, and so that's what we're doing. And maybe when we talk to Renae in a few minutes, we'll find out who she's supporting and who she'd like for us to send a donation to in honor of her. And so, Bud, I hope that that's given you some food for thought as far as this craving and wanting that we all seem to have for more, but also taking time to relax and just take count of all of the blessings. And then if it feels right, pass it on. So thank you, Bud, for that question. And if you'd like to send in a question for Growing Edge Live and ask Allie, I'd love to hear that. You could post it in the chat, or you could send it to growingedgelive@gmail.com. So thanks, Bud. All right. So, oh my gosh. My guest today, Renae, is a woman that came into my life, I don't know, 5-6 years ago. And she made such a heartprint. She came to the Satya Center, and I was instantly drawn. Well, actually, she came to a class I was teaching, and she showed up out of the blue, and I was so struck by her. Well, you'll see, you'll feel it. There's a particular energy that this young woman has that is extremely soft and gentle, and also very powerful. She's extremely driven. She's extremely heart-centered. She's beautiful, and she is so generous. I think that's what that touched me the most was, and here she is, Renae's generosity of spirit. So I'm going to read her bio, some of it anyway, because she's quite phenomenal. And I know she's probably blushing at all of these compliments. So Renae has been studying herbal plant medicine for the past 18 years, and has a unique insight into how plants can benefit your life. She's the co-founder of Chroma Herbal Products. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes.
Okay, good. A company that started in her kitchen, and now she has sold hundreds of thousands of products all across the world. The plants have given her the opportunity to travel, explore, and live a life of learning. Renae has a passion for speaking and teaching, and is known for her ability to inspire people to make meaningful change in their lives, and that she does. At her storefront in her local community, she works with other artists and leads classes and workshops about herbs and connecting to nature through various art forms. And this next part is how I first was introduced to her. Renae has led retreats in Mexico and Kenya, giving her the opportunity to help hundreds of people having mind-opening and educational experiences. She has also done projects working with the empowerment of women, love it, and children in China, Russia, and India. Everywhere she goes, she learns from and connects to the local plants, creating plant allies across the US, Bali, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Morocco, and Ireland. Renae lives with her husband and 3 children in the mountains of Utah. Welcome, Renae. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to have you and to share your light with our audience. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing so well. Thank you.
Good,
Thank
good.
you for your kind words and introduction. And it was like making me cry. It was so sweet. Thank you.
Oh, well, I don't want you to cry, but tears of joy and tears of heartfelt of recognition are really meaningful. So thank you for sharing the evidence of your love and your generosity through your tears. So we've heard a lot about you in me reading the bio, and I want to, the second part of our show, I want to dive into some of these things that we've heard in the bio. But before that, I'd love our audience to get to know you. So how did your journey start? Are you a spiritual person? If so, how did your spiritual journey start? Can you give us a little evolutionary tale of your kind of first spiritual experience or first introduction to the spiritual life and how that's evolved?
Yeah. So, yes, I do consider myself a spiritual person. I am definitely on a journey and feel like I'm always learning and evolving and growing. And, but it did start. I was born and raised in the LDS or Mormon religion. And it was, so I was taught from, a very young age. I lived just a very religious life. And I wouldn't necessarily say spiritual, I would say more religious. And as I, got older and started, learning through the internet and all kinds of things and being exposed to more and more people around the world, I started to see, oh, this is not for me. This is not what I actually believe is truth. And kind of finding that voice and my own empowerment of feeling, because before it was like something I was just born into. And so I started to feel empowered, to feel like I could actually choose what I wanted to believe spiritually or do spiritually as well. So I really so I went on a whole journey, and it was very traumatic and it was very difficult to learn that everything you'd been taught and you had been, raised a certain way, and everything that I had done in my adult life had been a product of what I was raised to do. So I didn't go to college. I didn't, you know, have a formal education. I had children very, very young, and I would never go back and change any of that. But it was really hard for me because I didn't feel like that was necessarily my choice. I had felt like, oh, I was taught this is what I had to do. And so it was very difficult and very, traumatic when I learned, oh, that isn't the way it is. That isn't the truth. And so, but it was a really beautiful journey because I've heard, people talk about when everything crashes and it's basically like everything you thought was a lie and crashes down. It gives you the opportunity to build something back up of what it is. You can build the life now that you really believe in. And so even though it was really hard, I actually feel so grateful for that opportunity and for that journey to have everything shattered. And I kind of see it like I visualize this wall that I had, and it just completely shattered all the truth that I thought was just completely gone. But it gave me the opportunity to really start from ground zero and build up. But also, it gave me the opportunity to say it's okay to not know things. And because I was always taught this is how things are. And if you have to know that, and you even were taught to go into church and to say, I know this is true. And now I would never say I know anything is true, because I feel like, uh, oh, it may or may not be true, and it may change. My truth may change later, and that's okay. And so it's been a really cool journey, and I've loved to be able to embrace that of the unknowing, and to stay open, and to continually learn. And I think about that quote from Socrates, and he says, the moment that you know something is the moment you stop learning. And for me, I felt like my spiritual path has really been about continuous learning, and to say, I never fully know something. So I'll always, till the day I die, I will continue to learn. So that's been really, really amazing. So I'm always on, and not just learning intellectually, but also from my intuition, and tapping into that and being open to that as well. So it's been a really cool, hard, but beautiful journey.
Yeah, it sounds like it, and I've witnessed it. There's, having a spiritual center in Ogden, Utah, has been quite eye-opening for me as a minister. To have so many, it's such a big percentage of our congregation, when we were actually meeting in person, which we're not doing anymore, per se, for traditional services like we used to, but seeing so many people from the LDS tradition come through our doors, and to see them going through the process of letting things go, and kind of finding themselves again anew, to discover themselves outside of that box. Let's call it a box for a moment, because many people that grow up in a religion, whether it's Catholicism, Judaism, Zen Buddhism, Mormonism, whatever it is, there's a particular box and a culture and a mindset and a worldview that we seem to adopt based on those teachings and that culture and that structure. And so to see so many people come and wake up to discover their own voice, their own intuition, their freedom to explore, and to build some sort of spiritual life, spiritual practices anew, has been so exciting for me. I think, and hearing you talk about it and witnessing you develop, all the things that you work on, but develop as a woman. We just got together a week or so ago, a group of women, and I was so touched by, you were facilitating, so you were hosting, you were standing and sharing your thoughts, and gathering the women and inspiring us to have conversations about particular things. And something you said really stuck out to me, and that was, and this is so true, you have a way of collecting treasures, you said. And you talked about all of us, the 20 or so women that were there, were part of your treasure box, that we were treasures that you had found along the way, along your life. And I knew a couple of other women there, but not many. And I just looked around, and I was probably one of the oldest there. I looked around and I saw these beautiful souls that you've attracted into your life that you're calling treasures. And that we were there to celebrate I think it was a pagan kind of um, harvest sort of celebration, correct?
Yes.
So will you talk a little bit about how you've combined different traditions and your spirituality now? Like, how would you describe it? If I was just, meeting you on the street, like, what do you believe? Who are you, spiritually speaking?
Yes. Well, I mean, that's a great question. It's funny because I would say it's very, very eclectic. Just like all my treasures of people, I feel like that's how I feel spiritually. So I couldn't define it. So because it's like a little bit of everything, and something that you had said at that event, you had said, you had talked about seeing a little piece of your heart in all of those women, and where you were talking about you didn't really know them, but the women had opportunities to share things, and so it was like you could see these little pieces of your heart in that. And so I feel like that was so true and so beautiful. And I feel like as far as my spirituality, I think that's what I would say. It's like I see a little bit of my heart in all of these things. And so wherever there's love, wherever there's goodness, wherever I'm a big believer of that no one person or no one idea has all the answers, and the answers are different for every person. So I also feel like what's true for me is not necessarily true for other people. So it's really funny. So I don't know what I would say, but I love little pieces. Like that event was like a Celtic pagan tradition, which I see so much beauty, and so a little piece of my heart in those traditions. But also I am very drawn to Buddhism. I also, just wherever there's love and empowerment of people and things that bring people closer to their higher self or their true self. So I could not define that. So if someone asked me, I guess that's what I would say. I mean, it's not a short answer.
Yeah, and I see, it's really how we live our everyday lives, isn't it? I mean, that's our spirituality. It's not like something we do when we're kneeling down on a cushion and praying or meditating, or it's just how we live our lives. I think the Dalai Lama, it was known for saying kindness was his religion. And, I think you're the perfect example of living your religion, if you will. And I think of religion as yoking to the divine, living your religion out loud in all that you do and all that you are. And so, yeah, it's been just so meaningful to me to be on a spiritual path and have you be a part of that. And so I'm so glad you're my guest today.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to take a little break here. Thank you, New Thought Media Network, and we'll see you in a couple minutes.
I was made in the image. I was made in the image of love. I was made in the image. I was made in the image of love. Here and now I can see I was made beautifully. I was made in the image. I was made in the image of love. Beyond books and words and songs,
New Thought Media Network is on the rise. We're looking to grow with you. Do you have technical media experience or perhaps a desire to learn? Are you willing to volunteer your precious time and attention? We share this message to benefit all. If you possess a computer with a camera and a microphone, we will share our knowledge with you. Behind the scenes or being the star, let us bless our one. Contact us at info@ntmedia.org.
Free my mind, open my heart with the whispers of truth. To live a conscious life, to live a conscious life on the growing edge. On the growing edge.
And now, here's Allie.
We're back. So Renae, we've heard a little bit about your journey, your spiritual journey. Now I want to dive into what you're doing and some of the things that you've done that are just mind-blowing. Actually, when I first met you and you shared with me some of the projects that you have been involved with, I was blown away. To your age, you're a mother of 3, you've got your own business, you're like hands-on in that business. I mean, you've got a lot going on and you do all these other amazing things. And it's these other amazing things that I want to dive into a little bit. First of all, acknowledging all of those wonderful things. But so tell us a little bit about some of the projects that you've found yourself involved with, and you've traveled around the world sharing. Can you tell us a little bit about some things?
Yeah. Well, yeah, thank you. I did a lot more before the pandemic. It was a lot easier to travel and to work on these projects, but I have always I've been a huge believer in empowering women, especially, and children. And it feels like when you empower the women in the communities, you really empower like the whole community. So, yeah, I've done a lot of different things, but I would say my favorite things that I've worked on is actually, I worked with a program called Days for Girls, where they would teach women in communities how to sew and then sell like menstrual pads and feminine hygiene kits. So, because this is like a really huge issue all over the world, and it's one of the biggest reasons why women are not educated as often as men and boys. And a huge factor is that they don't have a way to manage their menstrual issues. And so that stops women from going to school and from going to work. And so with this program, what they do is they help sew these, they teach these women how to sew these pads, and then educate also about menstrual issues and how to take care of, what's going on with women's bodies, and how to, get access to proper health care for women. But so that was one of my favorite things, is to be able to go with groups and create it's kind of like little like micro businesses in these communities where the
Where
women
would you go? What countries would you go to?
well, with this program, I did this in a lot of through Mexico and then also in India. And it's really cool because the women actually learn how to create their own little business, and then they can sell a product that is very needed in their communities. So that was that was really, really neat to be able to do that and just see women and girls, young girls, learn how to sew and be able to create something that not only they need, but they also can make money from that to be able to pay their bills. So
what would you say was the biggest challenge with that? Because I can't imagine that it was all just, oh, it was so easy and wonderful, and like going to a country that the resources aren't as available. You maybe don't speak the language, and I mean, did people like just connect with you and everything was great, or did you have some challenges with that?
yes, there were very big challenges, especially in India. So this program had been around in India, but what was interesting is in almost every country that this program, so I was just like a volunteer. So I don't officially work for that company or that organization, but historically, so this organization is throughout a lot of different countries in the world, but in India, the people who ran it were actually Christian men, like Christian ministers. And so this was a huge factor that created a lot of problems because a lot of women did not have access, especially because in India, Christianity is not the primary religion. So it was really eliminating most of the women who needed that. So it was really neat. Actually, I worked with an ashram in Rishikesh, and we were able to set up a sewing center. So it was available to all women. Like in Rishikesh, it's primarily Hindu, and so, but the women then were able to run the program, and then it was available to a much larger population, so, but it was really interesting to see. There's a lot of cultural dynamics and me, just being a woman, especially not a local woman, I can't just come in and say, this is how it's going to be and you guys are going to do this, and so it really is about finding people in the community and finding women who are influential and who can make a difference in their community, and really just helping support them so that they can help their community, because they're the ones who actually make the change. And I think that was a very important element. So it was really fun, a really interesting, learning experience, and learning about just, different cultures and working with different people. But so
Yeah, that's amazing. I can see that those experiences must have really, grown you as a person, and making all those connections and putting the pieces together. It takes a particular amount of faith, I guess, in yourself and courage to be able to do that. Where did that come from for you? Not all of us do this. I know plenty of 20 somethings and early 30s that they're so consumed with their own lives and their own little world and worries that they wouldn't have the bandwidth, the time, the energy for this. And where'd you get that? What?
Oh, well, thank you. Well, I think that very early on, I always when I was a little girl, I just thought, oh, when I grow up, I'm going to save all the animals and I'm going to help all the animals, and that was kind of my dream. And then as I got older, I started to see I still wanted to help the animals, but I started to see that people were a lot harder to love than animals, and but not as many people had that same kind of drive to. I think there's so many people in the world that do want to help other people, but I realized it's much harder to help people than to help animals because people are much more complicated. And um but so it was interesting as I grew, older, I started to see, oh, I want to do things. Somehow I want to help people. And I think a big part of it was just trying to figure out who I was. And really it was my soul journey because really those people helped me. And that was ultimately what I had learned, where I thought, oh, I want to go help the people, but actually it was more of them just helping me. And really it was finding this, helping me on my journey. And but so yeah, so it was just it was really interesting to see how things are so different than
Yeah.
what you think. So I wanted, yeah, I wanted to help people, but ultimately it was just finding my own way
Yeah.
in this
It
world.
sounds like a really an amazing a series of amazing experiences, and I know you've done other things as well. I'd like to sort of shift gears and move to what you're doing now. I noticed that we're showing how to contact you on the page often, and it's talking about your company. And how did how did you get into plants and botanicals? And um, I've been to your store. It's beautiful.
Mhm.
I have had the pleasure of experiencing your products, which are just so powerful and so like there's whatever the magic is within you is somehow transferred over into those products too, because there's something you're onto something here. Let's hear about Chroma and how that started, and what's your vision? What's your like you and your husband started this,
Mhm.
correct? So
Yes.
what was your sort of founding vision? Why did you do this, and where is it now? So how did it start? Where are you now?
Yeah, well, thank you. Yes, so now and my gears have shifted a lot after the pandemic, and that because before I was traveling, I mean, in one year, I think in 2019, I went to like 5 different countries in that one year. And then everything changed. And it as sad as that was, because I love, love, love to travel, but I realized, wow, I've always had this drive and this passion to do good in the world. And I realized I can do it right here at my own home and in my own community. And so I really started to focus a lot more on that and creating it with my husband and building this business. I mean, we had it for a long time, but I do feel like it kind of shifted more to where how can I help my own community much more and create jobs. We have employees that we're able, I love that they get to come to work and they love their job and they have a good quality of life. And that means a lot to me because I've always been driven to do good and to help people. And so it's really cool to be able to do it right in my community. So the plants have really created that path. And I was thinking about this the other day because I was thinking, I almost I work a lot with plants, but it's funny. It's sometimes I feel like I almost work for them because I felt like I felt like I almost didn't create this business. It kind of created itself. But it was out of a desire to do good and to help people. And I wanted to create products that were the very, very best. And so it was really neat the way that it has worked out. And now to be able to employ people and to also, help people with this plant medicine, and we send it all over the world. And so it's my way of doing good, but from my own little community, and I don't have to leave, although I always want to, and I always will travel and go all over, but it's kind of my way of doing good in my community.
Yeah, so we can see your website here. Tell us about the products that you create, and who's being impacted by taking them? Like who's your customer?
So it's really cool because we've done a lot of like market research and statistics of seeing, who buys our products. And it's, every kind of person. So there's every kind of background. It goes to all kinds of different countries all over the world. And it's really cool because we've really wanted to create the best. So it's like vegan, organic, kosher. We try to use as little plastic as possible. And really, we've just kind of tried to create the best, really, because we created it for our own family. And then it just grew and grew into something else for other people. But yeah, it's been really neat because it's, I joke that it's kind of like the Dolly Parton of I feel like the Dolly Parton of supplements or something, where it's like for every person is welcome. Everyone can benefit. It's really whoever is interested in plant medicine and their healing properties can be.
So I remember you mentioning to me that there was one, is it a tincture, right? You call them tinctures?
Yes. Yeah.
One tincture that was specifically to help with lucid dreaming. That is like so exciting, because usually you think of medicine, plant medicine, as like, oh, I've got an itch and you're going to put this little, potion on the itch and the itch goes away. And so, a lot of us go to the health food store to look for alternative kinds of remedies and supplements to sort of address physical issues. But now we're talking about like dreams. Now we're talking about like participating in a dream state, and some plant is going to aid in that. Give me some story around that. That's super exciting.
Oh yeah, that I think that is such a fun part of working with the plant medicine, because I always tell people, because people are just familiar, they think of it, the same way as you use like pharmaceutical drugs, but it's very, very different, because yeah, it won't just help an itch on your arm. It may also help heal like childhood trauma, and so it is really cool because there is a spiritual element, and it's really just going back to nature and going back to each plant. I think of them, they all have their own personalities. And so they all, they help with physical things, but they each have their own unique, they help. And, with dreaming, and that can be so healing for people having dreams, and a lot of different herbs help with dreaming. And different aspects like lucid dreaming, some help with dream recall, so you remember your dreams easier. Some help give you more vivid dreams. So they're really fun. And I would say it's a huge part of my spirituality. I have a friend who she always says, follow plants, not gurus. And I love that because, and I mean, and really you could expand that not just to plants, but actually just nature. So it's kind of like going back to nature and tapping in and listening to nature and getting, the trees. It's like you could go sit under a tree and you may have the greatest message downloaded to you that you could sit in a church and maybe never have that same experience. And so it's really cool though, because the tree has its own wisdom, and each of these plants also have their own unique wisdom and their own personalities and things. So
Yeah.
it's really fun.
So I had asked you earlier to share a spiritual practice with us. And when you were talking about the tree, I was thinking, oh, maybe this is her spiritual practice. She's going to be sharing with us to go hug a tree or go sit with a tree. So can you share something with us that's been helpful for you in either sort of connecting more fully or opening up or whatever it is you do to feel what you want to feel? What
Yeah.
kind of spiritual stuff are you up to?
Yes. So that is one of my things. I have back behind my house, I have this little juniper tree. And one of my favorite things, almost every day, I go out and sit under that tree and meditate. And it's been a really fun thing because I have a special connection now to that specific tree. But I'll do it, whenever I travel, I love to try to find the trees or, just any kind of medicinal plants or flowers are very fun to connect to. But even going and sitting outside by them and just meditating. And I also have done it where I've meditated in my house, and I'll just say, I'll ask for any plant that has a special message or something that I need to know, please come to me. And it's been really cool because I've had plants show up in meditations that I had never worked with before. I had never had any special affinity to. And then now I do because of this. But it's really neat. So I have used that. Actually, that's been a very big part of my spiritual practice on a day-to-day basis. It's really connecting to the plants and getting outside as much as possible. But even when you can't go outside, it's like you still connecting within your house. Just meditate and ask. It sounds funny. I know it sounds, it's a different kind of thing, because people, we're used to asking, I heard friends talk about ask the goddess or ask this god or, and it's funny because I just go to nature, and I've found some of my deepest truths and understanding myself the most has actually been through that practice.
Mm. Yeah, well, you're speaking my language. I grew up in the countryside in England. I remember one of my first books was, it was a picture book, a book with pictures in the flower fairies. And there was a fairy assigned to each of the flowers. Now, this is back in the 60s. Well, obviously, flower children and all that. But this was before the hippie movement. And I always, being an only child, being out living in the English countryside, all of the hedgerow life, all of the flowers and the plants, the wildflowers and the amazing gardens, I always felt like I was not alone. Like there's an energy to being outdoors, to being around plants. And maybe it's just that little girl that got, influenced by that book. But I definitely feel like there's little fairies with the little flowers, and there's more going on than we realize, I think.
I think so too. And I think I've had people tell me that, sometimes they get lonely, and really I've told them, if you go out, if you find a tree near your house that you can easily walk to or access easily, it's like, just go sit by that tree and you'll never feel alone. You always have a friend, and make a friend with the tree, which it sounds so funny, but it's, when you try it, it's amazing what will happen. And I've had times where I think of my little juniper tree. If I've gotten sad or I've had a bad day, and I'll think of that tree and I think, oh, thanks. She's my little friend that supports me. So you never have to be alone if you go out and make a friend with the tree. You'll never be alone.
I absolutely agree. Well, this has been amazing. Just having this conversation with you, hearing about all of the projects that you've been involved with. What a blessing. I know that you said it was equally as a gift for yourself as it was the good work you were doing for whatever organization you were helping or supporting. Yeah, it's been fun to watch you, and just so meaningful to be a part of your life and to be friends. And so thank you for sharing all the things that you have with the world, and thank you for sharing today. And I know this spiritual practice of connecting with trees and plants and is very, very valuable, because we're never alone. We're never alone. Is there one sort of growing edge kind of nugget or pearl of wisdom that you would like to leave with us today? Because we're always learning. Like you said, if someone knows, then, well, you didn't say this, I'm going to say this. If someone tells you they know something, then you may want to run away, because we live in a crazy, wild universe that we really don't know much. But is there something that's like front of mind for you that you'd like to share as a parting nugget of wisdom?
Yeah. Well, I guess just kind of recapping, even I just have felt, it just comes to my, follow plants, not gurus, but really I feel like really it's nature, which really it's yourself. And I feel like we are nature. Our intuition is truly our most powerful guiding light. And I feel like really whatever takes you closer to that, you should follow that.
Yay,
So
I love it. All right,
I-
you heard it. You heard it from Renae. You heard it from the Growing Edge, that you be your own guru and let the plants lead you. So thank you so much for sharing today. It's been so much fun hearing about all of your adventures and seeing what a heartprint you're leaving on humanity. Thank you. And thank you for watching today. Thank you for being here. We couldn't do this without you. And next week, I have an amazing guest, Ashley Bennett Stoddard. She's an artist. She's also very big in the women's empowerment movement, and you will love to meet her too. So thank you, New Thought Media Network. Thank you, Renae Southworth, and I will see you next Monday. Mwah. Bye.